Hello and welcome back to the layout. It is eve of op session number 2. The layout is locked in position, so is the paperwork. It's ready to go. I want to touch briefly on the paperwork that we're going to be using for this operation session and kind of what I did with it. So let's delve right into that. As you know, I am a huge fan of paperwork. I think it makes things run and it adds a layer of realism that is helpful. When I started getting back into the model railroad hobby, I really wanted to do operations. I was thinking about doing car cards and waybills, but the act of all of that tiny writing on those very, very small cards was definitely not for me. So I looked into, we're just going to do this here. I looked into JMRI, and that was awesome with what people are doing with it, but the learning curve was very, very steep. You have to understand, I don't come from a spreadsheet background at all. I know many things when it comes to computers, but spreadsheets are not one of them. And it was very, very intimidating because it assumes a certain level of knowledge before you get into the guts of it. And yes, it does cool things, but that is not what I wanted to spend my time doing. So I ended up writing switch orders. I could decide where cars were going on my layout, then figure out how to get there. That's what we used for the first op session, and it went okay. But I got to thinking about using tools that I kind of know on how to do that. So basically what I've done is I have taken ChatGPT and I have turned it into JMRI. It will now generate switch lists for me with logic and also continuing memory. So a little bit about it, basically I just started asking questions and thinking about how the flow of those questions should be to get the answers that I wanted. And in the end, what I ended up doing was feeding it all of the documentation that I have been working on for the last year. Track diagrams and car lists and industries and history and what I imagine the railroad was like and a whole bunch of things. And it's taking these things and it's starting to form an operational idea of how the railroad works. Then we got into actually forming switch lists. And the rulebook was a whole nother thing. But switch lists, we're pretty good there. It knows, again, that's a very loose definition of the word. It knows where my industries are, online, offline, where, what interchanges I have, how that works, where I am roughly geographically, and it takes into account. Furthermore, I fed it articles from model railroads I liked. I've fed it Lance Mindheim's philosophy. It knows that, like, slow down, don't overload the layout, a few is better than none, take your time. It's inputting and using all of that. The list of logic that we have for the layout is immense. And every time that I want to do something, we can roll it in and use it. So in the end, we ended with these. These are, well, a couple of things. These are text formatted like it came on a dot matrix printer. These are telling my crew what to do, and it's really cool. This is the operating session number 1. For us, it's number 1. It's number 2 for the railroad, but and it has all of the things that you'd inspect. Tells you what your job purposes are. What the weather is. We run real weather on the railroad, or close enough as it is, so that the weather can affect some of the flavor text. But it tells you what you're doing. It tells you this was recent. Lading shipper and any notes, which is really cool. We went through what the job sequence was, and we've changed it. Originally, Blue Star was first, and then we'd work the yard, but it made the right decision that we're going to work the yard first, then work Blue Star, then do everything. Well, I also have an internal memo that is saved in my documents of us telling Blue Star they're not going to get switched first, which is how we've done it in the past, because we need to sort our yard first. So, but yeah, this ended up being 7 sheets. There are only 6 here because one of them is what we call the superintendent pull. It tells me what's going to be on my layout when we start the session. So it's like what I need to do to go into my box, pull those cars out, get them ready for the session, and where to stage them. So I have a starting But, we start, let's see. So the crew has a start sheet. This is it. It tells them what's going on. Crew call, report to Edmonds Landing crew room, the weather and conditions, what locomotives are ready, where the cars are, what they're doing, any industry notes they might have, and then also where they're going. So this is this. It's like, hey, this is what you're doing today. From there, we move to the first job sheet. This is for the morning local. And it's not actually the Blue Star Liquor evening sort. Where's that morning sort? There it is. Okay. Morning sort. Morning sort classifies the yard with the cars that came in off of the Kalispell Southern and the BNSF at night. Those happen off layout, off session time. They appear here. We sort them. This kind of tells you what to expect, what cars you're moving. There was a change which I made in Penn, but then I updated the AI on that I did that. There are 7 cars that we need to move today. It talks about what the authority is, where we're spotting in Clearwater, switching authority and limits, just all of really cool things. Clearwater bell and whistle rules apply, sound whistles required, watch footing near turnout 3 and team track district. Like, we have worked this out so that they seem authentic, and they're definitely authentic to this railroad. So that is what I did, and tomorrow is going to be the real test. I'll do my best to get some footage for y'all, but there's no guarantees. I'm hopefully just going to be able to sit back and watch it happen. And then we have the Blue Star turn, which is going to run Blue Star, and then we're going to simulate a run out to Sealy Lake and back. Sealy Lake, by the way, I figured out we're going to talk about that briefly when we're done here, and give you a tour of the railroad. Sealy Lake and back, and then we're going to do our evening sort, which sets this up for the next day. So that's how that works. In addition, of course, I have my switch list. This is the laminated copy that Mike will be able to write on if he wants. I also have paper copies if he wants to use a pen. I've got a track warrant. I have the locomotive card that tells him about the locomotive he's running. We were going to have a new GP9 on the property. I got sent the wrong locomotive, though, so we're dealing with that. Hopefully, I'll get the right locomotive in the next time that we do one of these pre-operation session videos. I can show it to you. This is the Clearwater Pacific operational manual. This is our new corporate logo. I say corporate logo because it doesn't appear on railroad cars, but it is the face. It's got a cool moose there and stuff, inspired, of course, by the Great Northern and a little bit of the Northern Pacific. We rewrote the rulebook. I put my rulebook into it. The issue came when we tried to format it, and that was an excrement exhibition, but I just took it and put it directly into my old format. We rewrote the rulebook to better show what the railroad is and wrote a rulebook for the railroad. And I can't tell you how many hours that took. It was enjoyable to a point, but it was also extremely frustrating at times. But I have a really good rulebook that is up to date for 2024, understands that there is a G-Corps, but that we don't necessarily follow it because we're running a model railroad. It is pretty cool. 13 pages of rules. I have updated track diagrams. There's Sealy Lake. We'll go see where that's going in a little bit. Then I have some internal memorandums. This is kind of cool. We had a chat, and I said that, railroad cars are expensive, but I need to update my fleet. We're running legacy cars. Originally, this layout, if you followed the videos, this was originally going to be like a transition era layout. It ended up not being a transition era layout. It's 2024 on my layout now. The story, and then it explains it. So we have basically legacy cars. There's a transload in Bonner. There's a transload in Sealy Lake. We transload modern cargo, including grain, into these 40-foot boxcars. BNSF or Kalispell Southern takes them to either Edmonds Landing or Sealy Lake, where we deal with them, and then they're transloaded off. And that's the answer. So that is why I have 40-foot boxcars, and a lot of them, but those are slowly being replaced. But I said, at $30 to $70 a car, I can't replace them one for one as quickly as I'd like. So this is what it spit out. This is a monthly procurement schedule. January is a covered hopper and a modern boxcar. February is a bulkhead flat and a reefer. March is a gondola and a covered reefer. Anyway, I have this for all of 2026. And my goal is to, like, these are all new cars, not replacement cars. I will be replacing legacy cars as fast as I can. These are destined to be new, and I do mean new cars. But this is a procurement schedule I can stick to and not fall for every shiny thing. Train shows accepted. And then this is a proposal for the acquisition of a GE-8 4-axle road power, a B40-8. Looking probably in the spring. But this goes through current assignments, the acquisition costs, the risk and mitigation. These are rule books for the crew, and then these are the paper switch lists. So that is the operations manual that we'll see tomorrow. I'm gonna go put you on a different thing, and we're gonna go take a tour of the layout. So, won't you join me? And welcome back to the Clearwater Pacific Railroad. We're gonna start here at the engine shed. This is the Clearwater Pacific Railway engine shed. And one thing that I thought was really, really cool, let me get a pointer stick here. These barrels here, and then those ones back there, they serve a functional purpose. This corner of the layout, this door to this hutch here, opens, and I have to move the building. So I can't glue this building down. But what I can do is glue these barrels down. So when I take that off, and I'm not going to do that because there's a locomotive in there, and I would be doing with one hand, and it would probably end poorly. But those barrels, actually, I can put that building against it, and it holds it in exactly the right position for the locomotive. It's Foreman Dan Hernandez there. It's a train simulator joke. You'll see that we got some ballast down. This is the yard mix from Arizona Rock and Mineral. It was going to be one of two things, either the biggest mess I've ever done, or it was going to come out okay, and it actually came out okay. It does stop there, though. That, of course, is points, and that's a big bugaboo, so we're going to have to deal with that. But there's the yard office. There is, of course, Cannon's truck. In a wider view, these are the 7 cars that are ready to go out tomorrow, including, and this is kind of fun, this one, I looked at the lading, it was machinery and crated loads. And eventually I want to put it in there and have a list of all the things I actually have, and then we can actually have physical loads that we can load and unload. I like this. Moving up the Edmonds Landing track ladder, that switch right there is locked. Oh, I need to vacuum that. Locked. That lock right there. Got a key for it hanging right there. So that's the house lead. It remains like that. Line for the main. Going this way towards Marvin's Crossing. There's Marvin's Crossing. It will be getting some sort of protection here by the next time that we have an operating session. Operating sessions are the second Sunday of every month. So the 14th for this month. And there's a hat I made. And then back there, that is the Blue Star Rail Park. Back there. We need some more buildings, but it's functioning okay. Again, using the foam roads that I learned from the Des Moines subdivision of the Milwaukee Road. Coming down this way, one thing I also did is that I actually, I'm sorry about that, put a proper hook here, which means that when I hang this up, it doesn't get knocked off, which was a constant problem. This is a 1-minute timer. For some of the things that I do, you need to wait for 1 minute. That's a really simple, easy way to do that. Here is the team track, dock, forklift area, and another dock. 3 spot. Coming down this way, we have the office. And there are some of the tiny citizens of Clearwater. And train watching is big here in Clearwater. There we have locomotive number 2640. Hopefully she'll be restored by the end of next year. We can run Santa trains this time of year. I'm super excited for that. This is Tammany Avenue. That is Wally Finch's car there, the agent. The avenue there. We will also get protection for this crossing here. Moving down this way, heading this way, this is going to be Big Sky Forest Products. It is a lumber yard, 2 spots. There's a boxcar spot there, and then there's also obviously a forklift spot there. Main track, and then back here, of course, is the cannery. I had a cannery on the first layout that was just a paper layout. I built this. I didn't know what to do with it. I put it on this layout. We're going to get a warehouse building where you can actually put a car in. That's their next major expansion. So back there, we'll have a warehouse building in addition to that small warehouse. But they can primarily local lake and river trout, and then they can also can for other people. So that is a reliable source of revenue and things. So that's Clearwater, Marvin's Curve, and then looking back here, Edmund's Landing. Now, I've mentioned Sealy Lake. What about that? Well, if you go this way, that is where Sealy Lake will eventually go, on the backside of this wall right here, ending here. There may be a extension on it. We're not sure yet, but let me show you what that's going to look like. I'm going to bring you over here. So this is Sealy Lake right here. And if you see, this is based on a layout called the East Penn Industrial Spur, I think. East Penn switching layout. I'll link the video down below. But basically, comes in from Clearwater. There's Boy Scout Road. If you look at a map of Sealy Lake, you'll find out where Boy Scout Road is. There's the main. Up here is the main supplier. This is Mountain West LNG Logistics. There are 3 cars. This is kind of a pipeline end. If you know anything about the Missoula area, you know that we run a gas local, kind of famous for it. Well, turns out on this side of the mountains, they also couldn't build a pipeline up here. So the railroad is responsible for hauling that, and then the trucks will last mile it to their final destination. So they are the main driver here. We have a runaround, which is also where the Kalispell Southern does its work. Oh, listen to that. I don't know if you can hear that on camera, but it sounds like they're working tonight. But that's where they do work, where they'll leave their cars and we pick them up and bring them down for tomorrow. And then the team track is out here at the end. 1 dock, 1 forklift spot, and then Berman Ag Supply. They get everything from bags of feed to tractors. So there is Sealy Lake, and that will eventually be on the other side of the layout, giving us a place to run to. So there you have it. We are locked and loaded for tomorrow. This video will probably go up before the operations session, kind of like the last one did. And we'll see how it goes. Like I said, there's Foreman Dan Hernandez waiting on tomorrow. So we'll get those cars sorted tomorrow, and we'll find out what happens next time. In the meantime, like, subscribe, comment. I always appreciate it. It's nice to see that people enjoy, my little railroad and what it's doing. If you have any questions about how to use ChatGPT to form switch lists or help you with your own railroad, drop a comment. I'll be happy to talk about it. And if it comes up more, I will maybe do a video on it. But there we have it. Operations in an office. Well, until next time, thanks for stopping by the layout.